Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today we have a brand new draft here on the channel, and sadly, L column for me once again, but this day, I hope to come back because we are drafting our favorite, our best, our most beloved Studio Ghibli movies. But before we can dive in that, if you want to see any of our other drafts, because we're almost approaching 50 overall drafts. We've been doing this for almost a full year at this point. Maybe we have been doing this for a year at this point, but there's just so many there. There's so much fun, and even if you can't vote them actually, they're always fun to go back to, be like, oh yeah, you like this over this, you did that over that, because we have new ones each week, but the old ones, they're pretty fun too. But let's not waste any time. Matt, you are up first today.
I'm a little upset that I'm first up for this Studio Ghibli draft because there is such a strong top three. Actually, I'd say top four. And my favorite one is not one that I can justify picking. My number one Studio Ghibli movie. I can't pick first overall because if I do, I automatically lose because you get 1A and 1B. So that means I have to take one of 1A or 1B. And, you know, I got to go with the one that I think more people are going to be obsessed with. Now, keep in mind, these top three are all in my top 20 movies of all time. I'm a massive Studio Ghibli head. I've got two cats named after characters from the movies. I won't say which ones because that might spoil later picks. But first off, I have to take Spirited Away. This is my third favorite Studio Ghibli movie, but it's the most popular, the most beloved, and it is one of my top 20 films of all time. It's an incredible film, packed with wonder and joy and mystery. The fantasy world that Miyazaki brings us into is just absolutely gorgeous. It's very reminiscent of the new one, The Boy and the Heron. That said, I think this one is much more coherent. You know, it makes sense, even though it's just as weird, just as strange. This just has such a great story at its core, and I love Spirited Away.
So hopefully to not throw the draft at my first overall pick, I'm going to drop a bombshell on some people, and please at least listen to my team. Don't just throw my team out the window here. I'm not the biggest fan of Studio Ghibli. I like them. I appreciate them, but they aren't my favorite end-all, be-all of animation, of cinema, stuff like that.
Boo.
And
Boo.
honestly,
Boo.
my favorite Studio Ghibli movie probably should be undrafted. So I'm going to wait on maybe picking that one. Instead, I'm going to go for one that I know and I like, and I know a lot of other people... No, that other people know and like. And for this first one, I feel like, yeah, you took Spirit Away. That's the obvious 1-1. But I think like you said, there's some other big picks here as well. And for my first pick, like I said, it's a movie I like. And it's the symbol for the whole company. So give me My Neighbor Totoro.
Damn you. That was what I was talking about when I said there's a 1A, there's a 1B. Mm-hmm. And as much as I would love to take My Neighbor Totoro, I literally have a cat who's just sitting right over there who's named Totoro. So, yeah, I mean, good pick. What do you like about My Neighbor Totoro?
I just think it's probably one of, if not his most beautiful looking movie. I just think the animation here is flawless. I think it's very engaging as well. I think some of my problem with some of these movies is I get a little unengaged and the pacing may not be the best throughout, but this one I very, very much adore. And speaking of another one I adore, and maybe I'm picking this one a little bit too early, but this was the first Studio Ghibli movie I ever saw, so maybe it has just an extra little, love with me, and that is going to be Howl's Moving Castle.
Damn it.
I saw the dub version of this. Christian Bale really drew me in to watch. I think he does a great job in this. I also think the characters here are very fun. They're very engaging. And I mean, we have Josh Hutcherson. Who doesn't want to have a movie with Josh Hutcherson on their roster?
Damn you, Dylan. Damn you. That's my second favorite movie of all time.
Ooh.
Just like full stop.
Sounds like you should have picked your movies up front so I could have had Spirited
Away. No, because if I did, then I'd give you Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro, and then I lose. So, I was just hoping you wouldn't go for Howl's Moving Castle. Damn it. Damn.
Womp, womp.
But now my top three are off the board. Now, that said, I would give 10 movies by Studio Ghibli a perfect 10 out of 10.
Boom.
So my top three are all off the board. That means now I have to go down to my number 4, and I'm going to take Princess Mononoke.
Good one.
Which is an incredible action-adventure movie, the most exciting Hayao Miyazaki film, because this is not like his other ones, which are often a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reflective. Princess Mononoke is a it goes for the action. It goes for the adventure. It is a PG-13 rated movie, and definitely when I was a kid and watched this one, I was a little bit shook at the fact that you see a man's arms get ripped off. I got a few ways I could go with my next pick. Now, do I just pick my next favorite in line? Do I stick with the Hayao Miyazaki trend? Do I go with what's popular? And I think, you know what, I'll save my next favorite for a little bit later in the draft, because I don't think it should be taken now, and you could snipe out something from under me. So instead, I'm going to go with another Hayao Miyazaki movie, Castle in the Sky, which is another great adventure movie. It is the OG. It came out right after Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This was one of the first movies that I ever saw at TIFF, actually. Not at the festival, but I came during the year. Guillermo del Toro did a talk about how much he loves Castle in the Sky, and that's been like a formative memory for me. Yeah, Castle in the Sky is a wonderful movie, and I'm proud to have it as my third pick.
Well, I'd rather be a pig than a fascist, because I want Porco Rosso on my roster right now. This was the movie I was talking about before, where I know there's a lot of people who don't really like this movie. It's nowhere near the top of their roster, but this is my personal one. I just really, really like this movie. I think it's very funny. It's maybe unintentional at times, but the English dub of Michael Keaton, I think that's one of the best voice performances I've heard in these movies, outside of maybe one other one. But yeah, Porco Rosso, I think, is just a blast. It's fun, and it flies by, no pun intended. It's like 90 minutes long, so you can kind of pop this one on at any time and get a lot out of it. And here is where I'm kind of left with a few questions. There's another movie that I kind of like, but I don't know if other people do. And then there's a movie that I know a lot of people like. I'm a little bit more mixed on it, but I really, really like certain aspects of it. So I think, and maybe this is the wrong way to go about it, but I'm going to go with a little bit of recency bias and go with The Boy and the Heron. But I'm going to be calling it How Do You Live, because I think that's a much better title after watching the movie. Overall, I'm a little bit mixed on this film. I think there are some very positive aspects, some very negative aspects, but the thing that pulls this movie above and beyond is the music that you talked about before, the animation, as well as I admit, I watched the dub version, Robert Pattinson's great vocal performance as the Heron. I don't want to know what he did to his voice to make it happen, but ever since I've watched the movie, all I have is his voice stuck in my head, reading off various lines in this movie. Like, I had to drive to New York City the other day, which for me is normally like a 6-hour drive. It was like a 9-hour drive, and the whole drive, all I could think about was Robert Pattinson's vocal performance.
I'm so disappointed. I tried to see the dubbed version yesterday because I really wanted to see Robert Pattinson doing the Heron, and then it was sold out, so I ended up seeing the subbed version, which, you know, not a bad thing. It's a great original language track, but that said, I'd already seen the subbed version, and I wanted to see Robert Pattinson, so...
What's surprising to me is, especially looking at some other cities, they're showing the sub a lot more often than the dub, which, I mean, good on the studio for pushing out the original version. But as you mentioned, the dub is the one that has the more like appeal, at least here domestically, especially maybe it's for the Pattinson performance or just people's aversion to subtitles, as many auteurs have talked about in the previous few years. I eventually do want to watch the sub version, but for the first one, I just really want to see what Pattinson was doing after hearing all the buzz about his voice.
I'm going to have to first take The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, which is, oh my god, stunning, and was snubbed at the Oscars. That should have won in a goddamn landslide over Big Hero 6, especially because the Lego Movie was not nominated. But instead, they just gave it to the Disney Movie, and I will never stop being bitter about that. But The Tale of the Princess Kaguya is our first non-Hayao Miyazaki movie on the list. This is directed by Isao Takahata, and Isao Takahata is the other maestro in the Studio Ghibli dynasty. Instead of drawing it like a typical anime or a typical Studio Ghibli movie, it kind of takes this watercolor look, as though it's pages ripped out of a storybook. It is gorgeous looking. It makes my heart melt. It makes me cry every time I watch it. It is just a stunning achievement in animation. And to carry on the trend, I'm going to take a second Isao Takahata movie, and I will take the saddest movie of all time. Give me Grave of the Fireflies, the film that often comes up on people's lists when they say, what is the best movie that you never want to watch again? And Grave of the Fireflies is definitely one of those. It is difficult to watch. You are watching these two sweet children starving to death for 2 hours, and it is painful, and yet it is a film full of beauty, full of the strength of love, the kindness that comes in difficult times. This is a beautiful movie, and it is so much deeper than what its reputation is as being just a depressing hit to the gut.
So I'm left with two movies that I am trying to decide between. One, I'll admit, I haven't seen, but I know that a lot of people do like it, and that is Kiki's Delivery Service, so I will not be taking that one here. The one I will be taking is the movie that I have seen, and is it the best movie in the world? No, but I think it is a fun watch. It's very sweet, it's very charming, and that is Ponyo. I think the music in here is very infectious as well, something that a lot of these Studio Ghibli movies are known for, is their masterful work with the score department. The animation here looks very good. It's also kind of like Porco Rosso, where it's very fast, it's very quick moving. It's a very short movie, and it's one I just remember watching a lot when I was younger, where I was like, oh yeah, this is a lot of fun. Do I remember much of it? Maybe not, but I remember very much enjoying it when I did watch it.
So that brings us to the end of our top 10, our draft of the best Studio Ghibli movies. And to wrap things up, and just to remind you, my team consists of Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Castle in the Sky, The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, and Grave of the Fireflies.
On the flip side, I have My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, Porco Rosso, The Boy and the Heron, and Ponyo. As always, go over to the YouTube community tab, cast your vote. It can be for the team that has the best movie, the team that is the most consistent across the board, or the team that just doesn't have the movie that you don't like. However you vote, we just want to hear your voice heard, because if you made it this far in the video, sometimes these videos don't really get the most views, but our polls have been getting a lot of votes here recently, so I very much appreciate everyone who is still watching at this point. If you're watching, please consider dropping a subscription, or better yet, join that Discord link in the description. We would love to talk with you if it's about Studio Ghibli movies, if it's about any movies, awards season. We got a fun community. We would love to see you there. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.